Then, somewhere along the way, the big platforms moved in. Last year, $200 billion flowed upwards, away from the people who actually play. This year, they take it back. YOM, where players play games straight from your PC, not a data center in Virginia. Meet Tyler Pemberton. Yes, this looks dramatic, but he's perfectly fine. Tyler's offline. His PC isn't. 47 players streaming from his GPU right now. Even AFK, Tyler's rig is pulling its weight. He's making money in his sleep. Maybe this is what happens when gamers finally take control of their own world. Turn your idle GPU into passive income. YOM.net. Eat, sleep, earn, repeat.
Hey everybody, welcome to the town hall. Andy, how are you?
Very good, mate. Very good. How are you doing? You okay?
Good, but I'm looking to see. Usually, what I do when I start these streams, right, is I go onto my phone and I go to, our Twitter account to make sure that the stream is showing up. I am currently not seeing this showing up on our X feed, so I don't know.
Let's have a quick look then.
I don't know for broadcast. And X has been giving me issues today anyways. I've been trying to use it connection to our Medium account, and that's not working either. I think something's going on over at X that's toying with
I
all
see
their
something
APIs.
Says live.
You do?
It says
You see
live.
it?
Yeah. It says, oh, and I can see me.
Oh, good. All right, then there you go. All right.
Best day ever. By the way, I did like the video. That was kind of funny. That Grand Theft Auto of me looking like a pimp from somewhere in wherever it is, US based.
Right,
Did make me chuckle, by the way.
Yeah. We've got so let me bring up the chat too so I can see the chat. So we've got a lot to go over today. We're going to talk about Dev Brighton because you guys went up to Dev Brighton last week. It's kind of the kickoff to the conference season, right? We've got Dev Brighton in July. We got Gamescom in August. In September, we're going to San Francisco and going to the home offices of Discord, which is kind of a big deal. September. I say September. Yeah. So it's
maybe August. You said so. Sorry.
Yeah, I must have said October. September to Discord. I think October is free, and then November. I know we're not really talking about it yet, but there's a big event looking right down the pipe in November that we should be a big part of. So, and we'll keep that under our hat for now. But anyways, it's the conference season. Like we're really starting to ramp up all these different games conferences. So I'm sure you'll be doing a lot of traveling yourself. There's so much going on. But so we'll talk about Dev Brighton, and then I wanted to talk to you a little bit too about Xbox and their latest shenanigans.
Yeah,
I'm going to call it shenanigans. And then the last couple of weeks we've been talking, Gloria and I, on these town halls about the data center, hyperscaler, neocloud battle that's going on, and how we kind of sit outside of that. I liken it to the battle between Coke and Pepsi, which are both horrible for you, and you should just be drinking water. In this instance, we're kind of the water, So, but we'll talk about all.
I was just drinking a Coke then, which is you probably saw that, by the way. It's a bit like oops.
I didn't, but
didn't you? Okay. Yeah. Well, it's a bit like normally it's like alcohol beer or no alcohol beer at this time on a Friday. So I was like, we're not doing that. So
I do water. That's kind of that's
much
why
better,
I lean towards water.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, so where should we get started? Why don't you want to do the Xbox stuff first? Or you want to do Brighton first?
Yeah, maybe do Brighton first because it's then. I mean, it's not going to be a long one, but and I think we've discussed this a number of times actually. Last year was the first time we went to Brighton, and I was sort of getting there expecting it to be. And for people who don't know where Brighton is, it's a coastal town in England, and it's basically renowned for being super cosmopolitan. It's a nice place to go and live. It's on the coast. It's got Pebble Beach. It's got an old pier where they sell rock with like the name Brighton written in the middle of it, and they sell fish and chips and mussels and cockles and all this stuff. And it's renowned for seagulls. Basically, you walk out with a set of fish and chips, and the seagulls come down. They're big, big birds, and they basically take the chips and fish and fly away. It's because they can't be bothered to fish anymore. They just come and eat all the tourists there.
Right.
So it's kind of a place that you go on holiday. And in the Victorian times, all the Victorians would leave London and they go to Brighton. It's got a promenade and what have you. And it's kind of that kind of vibe. Now, the last 2 years it's been super hot. So it's been a slightly different feeling to, a UK town on the coast in the middle of the rain and everybody going, my God, this is bloody awful. So it's had a really kind of nice vibe to it generally. But I went there very much thinking it's going to be a kind of regional games base. So basically, you land there and you think it's going to be lots of people from the county of Suffolk, which is not a big gaming county, and it's sort of south of London, and that's pretty much it. But what you actually get is very much every gaming developer, every publisher, a lot of the tech guys, a lot of the kind of CEOs of all the main businesses in the UK gaming space go there. And when I say UK, you also have people like Exola, the San Fran based business. You have Xbox, which obviously we were sort of chatting about briefly. You have everybody who's anybody in the UK gaming space, whether they're from the UK or not, pretty much there. So I met everybody from, there was outsourced businesses in Pakistan. There were, games companies out of San Fran. We basically met the Zynga team. We met the Take-Two heads of strategy. It was pretty good. And each year seems to get a little bit better. Myself and John went. And obviously John is so well known in the space. We ended up chatting to, we chatted to, I probably can't, can I tell you? No, I won't tell you.
Okay.
To probably one of the most important people in gaming, in Europe, in investment. That's it, and I had John knows him quite well. I probably had 45 minutes pitching YOM to him. And we made a little joke about how, we're not raising money at the moment, but he said, well, when you do raise, I said, well, yeah, problem is we had one venture fund, which is a big name in the space, which I, again, won't mention the name. And they said, well, look, come back to us when you need 20 million. I said, well, you 20 million. We'd have no equity left in the business.
Right.
Very funny. He said, well, how much you need? I said 5. He goes, I can do 5, It was a throwaway comment, and obviously there's loads of DD to do, and no one just 45 minutes then gives you 5 million. But it was kind of interesting that those are the conversations that we're now starting to have, and repeat conversations with similar people.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah, go on.
We've been talking, here on the town halls lately, Gloria and I, about the struggles that hyperscalers are having, both in the lot of pushback in the States. Like everyone, it seems to be the one thing that both sides of the political aisle could both agree these are bad things, or at least it has to be managed better. So you've got a lot of pushback here going on in the States. You've got a lot of investors who got really excited for a while, but then they're looking around going, maybe AI is not making as much money as we thought. So they're starting to pull in their horns a little bit. And the cloud gaming space, we'll talk about Microsoft in a second, but they're all trying to get into cloud gaming, but they're realizing how expensive it is to run off of either a neo cloud or a hyperscaler. So that was what we've been talking about here. You were at the conference. First, I guess the first question is cloud gaming being spoken about a lot? And then secondly, are the issues that we've been talking about here something that's on the forefront of people's brains, and they come to us because of that?
Yeah. I get a bit of a hesitation there, right?
Okay.
I think the data center piece and the conversation about energy and fear of building data centers, I think that's a UK and European issue. I also think there's an issue about sovereignty. And there's an issue about lots of things within the cloud that people are getting very apprehensive about, which actually is almost overshadowing the kind of building too many data centers for us in Europe anyway. Now, also the gaming conference, people are very much like, show me your best game, you know, and that it's a slightly different thing. So while people may be concerned about, you know, energy and the grid and all that kind of stuff, this was very focused on futuristic stuff. And the bit that seems to come out everywhere that I spoke to was people going, something's going to happen in gaming. Yeah, something. We don't 100% know what it is, but it's going to be probably one of four things. And it's user-generated content, AI in gaming, cloud gaming. And those were the three that sort of came up over and over again. Now, there was also a suggestion that there could be, and you'll love this being a gamer through and through, it's like in the same way mobile sort of came along and everyone went, oh, and then free to play came along when people, what, free games? And then all of a sudden everyone's doing it and it's the most profitable space. There is also a thought where actually the whole gaming infrastructure, the whole gaming, you know, how it works could change completely. So that could be another thing. But when we mentioned what we're doing, everybody is like, oh, I get it. Oh, that's great. You know, and running, there's a bit where you sort of have to keep the pitch really short because you'll know this. Otherwise you end up going, we can run, you know, I got my pitch quite good. I said, listen, the way to think about it is we can run anywhere. We can run a game anywhere there's a video stream. So imagine those American fridges, and you'll know the ones I mean, that have a TV on them. We can run Grand Theft Auto 6 on that if it ever comes out. You know, so that's their kind of like, oh, okay. And you can put it in Telegram, Discord, blah, blah, blah. And then people go, oh, that's amazing, you know. And I think the more people we talk to, the more excited people get about the cloud gaming space. I think the data center, sorry, go on. We'll finish that.
Yeah, we had this discussion a couple of weeks back. I got to go find the article again. But the idea that, yes, that when new technology comes out into the gaming industry, a new genre will pop up that takes advantage of it. And we always go back to Battle Royale. Battle Royale became a big, a massive hit, and now all the games are doing it. But that didn't exist. It couldn't exist before. They had a much better way of sharding servers and be able to go across different regions and that kind of thing. So that technology became available, and a new game style popped up that was supported by this new technology. And the mind behind Metal Gear Solid, I'm blanking on his name, but he released an article talking about cloud gaming. He expects cloud gaming is going to be the next one, and he's already designing a game that's going to take advantage of everything that cloud gaming does for gaming, you know, as far as community goes and as far as immersion goes and persistence. He's got it in his head, and he's starting to build a game already that's going to take advantage of cloud gaming, knowing this is going to be the future. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see, again, the issues that most of them are having is the expense of having cloud gaming come from a hyperscaler, right?
Totally.
And the Microsoft story, that might be a good way to lead into the Microsoft story. Let me get it up.
Do that, and I'm just going to shut my curtain a little bit.
Sure, yeah.
The sun is just going to come round the corner,
and
fry me.
I joked about it, right? So Microsoft is going back out and republishing, retelling everybody, because they announced this a while ago, but they're doing another. Just came up on my feed in a couple different from a couple different publications, which signals to me that Microsoft is making another press release push to say, hey, free cloud gaming, come to our, because they're really kind of struggling with the Xbox Game Pass. The whole gaming department inside of Microsoft is going through a reshuffle, right? But they want to get out there as many times as possible. But you can game on us for free off the cloud. But hidden in all that is free, but you have to watch a couple minutes of ads. You can only go for about an hour. It's not going to be the highest. The games, they think all the games that have got the biggest player base, they took those off because it's too expensive to run all those players on their servers, whether it's paid or not. They've taken some of them off. So they're really trying to compete, but they're both them and GeForce Now are having all these scaling problems where it's really very expensive for them, and they know it, and they just haven't found out. They'll keep on trying these shenanigans and these promotions and these press releases, but ultimately, until they figure out that we're 80% cheaper to do it the way that we're doing it, they're never going to really reach that mass market. And as much as I like the idea that games are starting to get designed around cloud gaming, I think without a scalable and more economic model, the one that like we've built, it won't really take off until we get all that market share.
Yeah, and when you listen to even Bezos and people like that, there's quotes from saying the future is cloud gaming. That's it. Now the interesting thing is, I had a few people who and you'll know this as well, because I'm sure you've had the same things. People go, oh, it's like Stadia, and I had one guy say it, and in a year's time or 2 years' time, they'll be the ones coming back going, oh, right, okay, we should talk, because as technology moves forward and as AI enables us to move technology forward faster, you get this hockey stick. And, my gut feel is that what's going to happen is over the next year or two, all of a sudden everything's going to connect. And at that point, everyone goes, my God, yeah, you're right. We can build games. We can run them on one device. I mean, I met the people that did well, I probably shouldn't tell you what they did, but if I tell you who it is, so I won't tell you who they are, but they're connected to Rust. Yeah. And they said, look, Rust, the PC grading is, 2025, cutting edge, greatest graphics, blah, blah, blah. 2021, 22 on the PS5, the PS5 version and the Xbox version is from 21, 22. So the graphics are older, the gameplay's older, and actually they're having to maintain two at the same time. Now, obviously, once you've got cloud gaming, you just have one, and that's it. And everybody plays in a web browser. The internet's getting faster and faster. We're going to get to 6G pretty well, probably 5.5G first, and then when we get 6G, it's ready to go. And in the meantime, GeForce Now are basically making enough money to make it work. There are other providers that are doing it. We're 80% cheaper than them anyway. And then as soon as the connectivity kicks in, we're in a very, very strong position, I feel.
Right. Yeah, and you and I spoke earlier today too about we not necessarily have to be in competition with either Xbox or Nvidia. They can exist, where their players are close by to the data centers and the latency isn't so horrible. But once they try to reach outside that region and latency takes a hit and their costs go up and up and up, having us at their edge, right, and augmenting what they have with what we've created is probably the course. That's the way that I generally feel like it's going to happen. I don't know them necessarily. Yeah. I mean, they have deep pockets and they can take a hit for a while. Xbox, famously, and PlayStation 2. They're famously not going to subsidize their hardware any longer. They're not going to take a loss on the hardware and try to make it up in the games like they've done for, all the last 5 generations. They're instead saying, okay, no, the PlayStation 6 is going to cost you $1,000. We'll need to space up to it. But I think what they're going to find is that they're going to try to subsidize their cloud services instead of their hardware. But it's really the same thing, same problem they're going to have. They take a loss at the providing of the access to the software and then try to make it up on the software when they don't have to do that. They can just use our network and save themselves all those costs.
Yeah. I mean, I think as well that it's really interesting when you look at how big, because again, we're looking at, what is it? I can't remember exactly. It's like a 46% CAGR, isn't it? So 46% increase every year for the next 6 or 7 years, I believe, on cloud gaming. Now, I think as that develops, I think that will hockey stick. And again, in particular, because if you look at how big the gaming space is, and you look at the way, I mean, look at this, right? Our age, right? We used to get tapes. Yeah, and you'd buy a tape and you'd put it in your tape recorder. You'd plug it into your ZX Spectrum or your BBC or whatever you had at the time. You press play, it would run the game and it would load it. Then we end up in CDs, and I thought CDs, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Then it's now downloadable. The market's going to keep getting bigger anyway around the gaming because everything's becoming game orientated or transmedia orientated or whatever the case is. And the blur between entertainment and gaming and socializing, I think, is getting a lot thinner, and people are moving between all spaces, which means that, the products that we're dealing with are getting, more important. But I think if I look at where the slice of cloud gaming is, I actually think the slice is going to keep getting bigger and bigger because no one's going to buy a tape nowadays to run a game on their PC. Very few people are buying CDs now because you don't need to. That's going to become even easier. Why would you download it where you can have your library and you just click on it and it's there?
Yeah. So long as the latency is solved, which again, many of those hyperscalers have those issues. I was just playing a test for Rowan. I think my
on your Skylink.
Yeah, well, no, it was not Skylink, but connecting to my Nano, and it was like 0 latency, right?
Really?
So fast, so nice. I can't wait to. So that's coming, I think, next week. But it's going to be very exciting to get all that out to everybody. That is probably more alpha than Gloria would let me say. So I'll just kind of stop talking about it. Sorry, Gloria.
Did you see the Skylink article as well?
I did.
I thought that was quite interesting on how quick Skylink is now getting. Again, this is all enabling games to be played by people without gaming PCs in places where they couldn't do it before. So I think it's going to be, it's going to be very interesting on that side.
Well, Gloria and I spend a lot of time talking about that too, because he's down, he's in Nigeria. No,
he is. Well, I think he splits between Nigeria and Ghana, but he is Ghanaian, isn't he?
And he knows all around him, like there's not a lot of hardware out there, and they're certainly not going to build these massive data centers for gaming down there. If they're going to put data centers down there, it's just going to be the database and to run AI. So anybody who's going to want a game down there, and that's a massive population, having a network like ours, and then having the ability to make passive income because you did get a chance to get a high-end computer. I mean, it's very, he was saying like the what we're talking about for the people down there, it's like a whole month's worth of pay. It like basically doubled their pay, which is nice.
It was interesting. So we were talking to the guys at Cytronics last week as well, and I don't know if I told you this, but they were. And again, there's a bit here where you're talking about what is the goal for what you're doing with your kind of PC. Is it AI? Is it gaming? And CPUs for data center builds now make more money being individual standalone CPUs doing AI inference than they will do as being a CPU for part of a gaming data center. Really? So if you think about that, right? So you could earn more from having the CPU just running on its own than putting it in with 7 or 8 or 14 GPUs. Now, for me, there's a bit where you sort of go, oh my God, that means everything's going to move to AI. But you also go, hold on, right? If I've got a gaming PC, how am I going to sign it up to AI? Do I want to sign it up to AI? Do I want to be part of a bigger gaming network? And you think that just pushes more and more business and more requirements to us, basically. Yeah. That's the point.
Hey, so we're kind of a far afield from Dev Brighton.
We are a little bit. Any bits? I'm just trying to think of any bits. Oh, so funny bits. I don't know if I told you this. I saw Wills, who was obviously our Avalanche contact, but isn't there anymore. He was doing some really interesting stuff. I met, and I'm going to see who I can tell you from the list of people. We went to the Yuki Breakfast, which is the United Kingdom interactive entertainment group, which basically covers gaming PCs, gaming companies, etc. That was really good. There was the guy that runs Creative UK, who's a guy called Carl Jones, which basically is the investment vehicle that Yuki work alongside. There was a load of lecturers from people like Meta. I met loads of game studios, like tons, like literally everybody was a game studio.
So I remember last year, John kind of came out after it was Dev Brighton or Gamescom, saying that one of the things that most game studios are already their biggest concern is attracting new users, getting them away from the game they're currently playing and starting to play their game that they've just published. Is that still like in the forefront of the conversations that people are having this year?
Yeah, user acquisition is massive. And again, the fact that we can enable user acquisition cheaper than anyone else. And, as soon as I start mentioning things like interactive gameplay inside an advert and even inside Telegram and stuff like that and Discord, people are like, because everybody knows the conversion rates are 20x bigger, doing that. And you can track it better as well. Right. So, that's good. Interesting. There's a couple of bits I thought were quite interesting. I met some hardware providers who are building gaming PCs, and they were like, love it. You know, can we link our nodes into their gaming PCs? Can they sell them as, you know, add-ons and stuff like that? We had
where were they out of that? Because I have the picture of those guys too. Do you remember what country they're out of, or
they're British? Yeah. So the interesting, they built a company previously and then sold it for, I don't know, whatever they sold it for. And the interesting thing is the guy said, yeah, we sold that business. Now we're going to do it again, but we're going to build a bigger one this time. So it was kind of, and it was good. So when I came back, I spoke to our investors, the guys at Sims. And I said, oh, do you know these guys? And they said, yeah, we know them really well. The guy's been around for ages. You know, again, a really strong validation of what we're doing, that these guys who are, and actually funny enough, Kevin from Sims said, oh, yeah, he's really technical. I think, thank God he didn't ask me anything technical at all. So he was just like, you know, there were some bits which, you know, the answers to in the same way I do. Right. But it was kind of, it was good. But there was, you know, and again, I've spoken to some of the gaming PC companies before, and they've been like, oh, I don't know. You know, now they're going, yeah, we like it. You know, I spoke to quite a few universities as well, and they were like, look, this is brilliant. You know, can we get our, you know, students to run games on it? Can we get the kids to play on it? You know, what's the cost to get it working? So again, lots of real interest at the grassroots level for YOM. And then things like, because again, it's gaming conference, it's not crypto, it's, you know, it's not infrastructure. So there were some interesting bits with conversations. There's a company called ZBD who do off-ramp, on-ramp, and they do a lot of token stuff for, you know, like V-Bucks and etc. So again, there's a really, sorry.
Well, that leads to a good question. You know, we've talked oftentimes about the gaming community and the gaming industry is really kind of staying away from crypto. It made them nervous at the beginning. They're concentrating on what they're building, and we've had a fits and starts with Web3 gaming, right? There was a big surge, and then a lot of them ended up being Ponzi's, and people are just kind of staying away. Is that still a sentiment? Would you say, coming out of these conferences, that's still a lot of trepidation about Web3?
Yeah, there was virtually no Web3 businesses there at all. Mm-hmm. You know, Wills, who used to work for Avalanche, he's not working for Avalanche before, and he's not really doing much in the crypto space. You know, I think there was one game studio I spoke to that were like, yeah, we're going to basically put, you know, a crypto token in the space. Exactly the same reasons that Vitalik set up Ethereum in the first place, which is transfer of goods across different platforms. But if I was going to say generally, it was pretty much no one was talking about crypto at all. I think my gut feel is that I think crypto needs to pick up again, and it needs to be running before people start looking at it. But I mean, if you look at some of the games, you know, there are very few games in the crypto space that are really good. And, you know, they're good games, but they're not the best games. Right. And, you know,
well, I mean, there's already the difficulty of getting a player to leave the game that they're currently engrossed in with all their buddies and having them go to a different game. That's already tough enough. But having them go to a different game that's also got a financial component to it that they don't fully understand, it's kind of a bit of an impossible task. I think probably a lot of the gamers who were playing Web3 games were Web3 first and then gamer second. I don't know if that's true for 100% of the time, but that was my thesis anyways. And so, yeah, it's not surprising looking back now, because the market's cooled off, that there's not a lot of interest from the gaming side to go into. There's not interest going that direction. There's more interest going the other direction, right?
Well, a couple of years ago when I went, there's the guys that did. Now, what did they do? Because do you remember the guys we spoke to about doing that Gulag? Business. I can't remember Ricardo. I can't remember what his company's called actually. But he was very much of the mindset that once you go and put the Web3 stamp on your studio, you are then a Web3 studio. Yeah. Which I think to a degree probably still holds. But again, this is always the case though, isn't it? I mean, you'll remember when people were, oh, you're a mobile studio. Yeah. And everyone looked down their nose, and now all of a sudden people are like, mobile? Yeah, I'm in, you know, that kind of thing. So I think there's going to be that piece. I think it needs cleaning up, as we know, you know. Well, we've been dealing with it for the last 12 24 months, haven't we? And
Yeah.
you know, there's some amazing things go on. I mean,
But
Joe, before I think I probably have 2 scammers a week try and scam me
please.
out of money.
Yeah, at
Do you know
least.
what I mean? You know, I'm like, oh yeah, of course I'll sign into your Zoom account. Oh, what, you want me to, you know, open my wallet? Yeah, of course I will.
This is
Meet face to face.
It's a good time to remind everybody in our community that our mods don't reach out to you directly. If you've got any conversation going on with our mod that's not inside of a ticket, be very, very cautious. I mean, everything should be handled within a ticket in Discord. So please use that system. Don't get, don't get yourself taken advantage of. Be mindful of your stuff.
Be very careful.
Hey, so a couple other things I wanted to kind of hit on while we're. I was going to mention. So a couple of weeks ago, I had Yort on the town hall. And we kind of made, and I'm just kind of curious about you because you and I haven't get a chance to talk about this yet. You know, we set out on this path about 4 years ago, understanding that this is a better way to distribute games. The distributed cloud, it's helpful for the players because it gives them revenue. It's helpful for the environment because it cuts way down on the cost of the data centers. It's more scalable, better for the players because the latency is lower. All those things, right? But this was back at a time that cloud gaming was, maybe there's some rumblings about it, but there wasn't a lot of talk about it. And now we're in this phase in the gaming industry where everyone's like talking more and more about cloud gaming. You got Microsoft and NVIDIA and Amazon, everyone and Netflix are all jumping into it. And I said, to Yor, that it's kind of amazing that we were thinking about this 4 years ago when no one else was talking about it. Now here we are with all these big companies trying to do it and all having struggles because of the cost and everything. I said, to me, it feels like we timed it just about perfectly. And I don't know if you share that, or would you say the same thing?
I would say fingers crossed. But yeah, no, I think quite often what you see is, and again, you look at the crypto thing and you look at things like NFTs and you look at, general tokens. And then you look at certain elements of technology and you think, right, are we ahead of the game? Are we behind it? Is it ever going to pick up? And I think with certain things like, NFTs, etc., they went like that and then came down. You look at AI, what's going to happen? It's going to go like that and then it's going to come down. You look at the internet, went like that, it's going to come down. There's certain things that probably won't pick up. But if I look at what we're doing with cloud gaming, it's similar to the AI piece. It went like that from a surge. It's perhaps come down a little bit, but the demand and the desire and the need for what it is, there's no way on earth it can't. I'm going to say touch wood when I say this, yeah. But there's no way it can't keep going up, and there's no way it can't be, the future of gaming. And it definitely feels, unless people are nice, and people do tend to be a little bit nice, the only thing I could potentially see would be actually it's going to be another 5 years before cloud gaming booms and ends up being everybody's model as opposed to 1 or 2 years. That would be my only kind of thought there.
If you were being conservative, you'd think it could go all the way to 5 years out. My conservative estimate is somewhere between 2 and 3 years. I'm
going to go with you.
Yeah. That's like if I were like to be worried about it, but I'm certainly not worried about it. I think as we do more and more to get the word out that there's about the concept of decentralization, which is, I think, again, not easy to grok at the very beginning, but as that becomes more and more part of the lexicon, part of the Overton window, right? People start talking more about the idea of decentralizing. I mean, what I likened it to? You didn't hear anything about Uber till all of a sudden Uber was everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And same with the one that does the houses, not Verbo, but the
Airbnb.
Airbnb. Thank you. Yeah. Again, it was not a thing, and then all of a sudden it was everywhere. Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where YOM's going to be, where people are like, oh, this decentralized something or other. And then it was like, wait a minute, you aren't you going to YOM tonight?
Well, there's a really interesting. So I think I mentioned this before. There's a book by Matthew Syed called Rebel Ideas, and he's done. I think did you say you'd read some of his other books? I think
I'm thinking of Talib Salim is who I read.
Okay, well, you have to read this one because it's really interesting, and they talk about. I haven't got it here actually; it's in the other room, but they talk about you got to ask the question, which is the recombination question, which is what is the exact opposite of what is actually happening at the moment, which is imagine a taxi company without any cars. Imagine a holiday rental business without any holiday homes. Yeah. And this is exactly what it is. And this is where we fit in, because if you think about it, right, we are a gaming, effectively a gaming console business, but without any consoles.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or a data center without a building.
Yeah.
A data center without a building. Right. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think this is where, as soon as people catch on to it, again, my gut feel is that what's going to happen is all of a sudden everyone's going to catch on to it, and we're going to be overwhelmed, which, is going to be a great position. And I think I think about these and think 5 years we can handle. Yeah. If it's 3 years, easy, Right. And I think if we go for a very, very worst case scenario of 5 years, we know we'll still be going in 5 years, and the technology will be there in, we'll be ready to really start, pumping it in 6 months, 3 months, All
right. So the last thing I was going to ask you is, so the next conference then is Gamescom.
One thing before that, one of the things I have to say that I did go and see was the England game at the Exola party, which we lost.
Yes,
but it was a very good game. I think I sent some photos and stuff like that. So well done to Spain, obviously where I live, for winning everything. And sorry, you're about to say one final bit. The interest that we got from this Dev Brighton around universities, hardware providers, marketing agencies, off-ramp, on-ramp, making the whole process Web 2 savvy and heavy was amazing. Yeah, we didn't get that a year ago when we had people like Behavior who were like, yeah, we'll put Dead by Daylight on, and at the time that was amazing. Now it feels like actually the overall backbone and infrastructure and the ability to scale it is the conversations we're having. So I was very excited by that. Nice. But anyway, you're about to ask about Gamescom.
Yeah, so Gamescom happens in the end of August, and I know I know what we're doing on our tech side to get ready. Like we're getting the thing that Corey won't let me say until next week, up and going as a showpiece for our time there at Gamescom. But what are the kind of things are you doing how are we preparing? What's the big push in Gamescom?
Well, I mean,
without saying anything that Glory says we can't say.
Oh God, that's everything then, isn't it?
That really is the whole reason. It's a big push.
I mean, think about this, right? We want people to come and play the games, and there are 330,000 people at Gamescom who are all gamers. And if you imagine the average for a European player is 40% of those have a PC. So there's whatever that number works out to be, 170,000 people, 160,000 people plus will be people arriving there who have a PC, who will either want or potentially could do cloud gaming or potentially could run a node. And they're all across Europe. It's one of the biggest things out there. So last year we had people handing out leaflets. It was very much like, look at what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. I think this year we're going to do some really big stuff. I mean, what I noticed is Monster were there doing something a bit 10 years ago, Monster. We had people handing out dollar bills, which they handed out thousands of them, like 10,000.
You're talking about the Walter bills, right?
Ones? Yeah, indeed. Those ones, yeah. So we'll do something interesting on that, and we'll have lots of stuff about that. There are 30,000 business conversations to have there, and it's everything from hardware, software. We had some really good conversations in Dev Brighton that. And I've got to check my Slack channels in a minute, but there are people who are saying, right, let's do something together in some of the biggest parties we've already been invited to, and there's some really interesting stuff. So, yeah, I'm quite excited that we're going to have some fun stuff going on. Yeah. Hopefully, not too much drinking, and hopefully a little bit of sleeping, and it won't be too hot as well, which would be perfect.
So, working up towards Dev Brighton, we've got. Again, the big release next week that I'm not talking about, and then the announcements of some of the bigger partners. And
They're coming.
Do you think the event in November? Are we going to be able to talk about that between now and Gamescom? Do you think that'll be short up enough
so.
that we can talk about?
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's going to be a massive event. That one. Yeah. That's going to be a biggie, and it's already been pretty much approved by the biggest people. But I'd like to come in all guns blazing. But that will be very cool. Very cool. And actually, we should probably do something where it's going to be an invite only, and basically no one except the top tier people in gaming are going to be invited. We should probably open up some tickets for community members who are London based or want to go to it in London, because it'd be
nice to have the community there kind of cheering us on. So
yeah. Well, our logo will be up there with some big companies. So
nice.
And then I always feel a little bit like I'm teasing everyone.
I know. I do. Every broadcast, I feel like that's what I'm doing, and that's why I kind of like the Wednesdays one where I go through the news and talk about the articles and that kind of thing, because I feel like I'm doing less shilling and less teasing when I just go through like what the news in the gaming industry or in the tech industry is. So for those people who are wondering why. Like, you get questions about why you guys talking about the data centers so much and everything. Well, part of it is because it's really hot in the news right now, and it is a problem that we're solving with our technology. And the other part of it is I don't feel like I want to consistently tease and then, make you wait another week. As much as Glory seems to be comfortable with it, I'm not as much.
Yeah. I mean, this data center stuff, I mean, the stats are amazing. 40% of data centers will not have enough energy to work. 7 years build times, 150 million to build a tier 4 data center,
Hey,
was it, I forget who it was, whether it was the NVIDIA guy or someone else, said basically, even including all these kind of problems and stuff, we need 100 times, was it Dell? Maybe it was the Dell guy. We need 100x times the number of data centers that we have at this moment in time in 5 years time. Now, It's impossible. It's just physically impossible.
Do you guys have the same thing in the UK or in Europe? You know what eminent domain? You know what that is?
What is it? Sorry?
Eminent domain. You know what this is? Eminent domain is a concept in the States. It's a legal precedent, but basically, if
we do have that, by the way, it's just called something else. Something purchase, compulsory purchase.
Yeah, they can force you to sell your property to a public utility in the States, even a corporation, like a private corporation that's doing public good, to the point that they said, even if the public good is they're bringing economic development to your area. In the case it happened with, I think it was Oklahoma. Where was it? Pfizer did it down in Connecticut. So in Connecticut, Pfizer was going to build a facility, and they forced people to sell their land to Pfizer, who's just a pharmaceutical company. And then eventually, because they said, well, we're going to build up the economic development, and then they ended up not building there anyways. So these people sold their land that might have been in their family for years, and then they had to go and buy it back. This came up in an article because the data centers are doing the same, not the data centers themselves, but as you're saying, the power utility companies are saying, hey, they're building a data center over there. We want to power it, but we don't own the land between us and the data center. So all you people who've got land between those two locations, you have to sell it to us. And the courts are saying, we may force you to do that. So even though the data center is a private company and and not necessarily doing public good, the power company may get the right to buy force you to sell. Crazy. So I don't know if you guys have the same thing in the UK and Europe.
I don't think we have it for private companies. We definitely have it because we had a massive problem with them building the it's called the H2. H2. It's basically the high speed train that goes from London to Birmingham. Okay. And I think in a typical kind of, you'll love this, by the way, Jeff, because it'll tap into your kind of like mindset. It's something like 8 times over or 10x over in costing. It's supposed to be 2 billion, and we're already at 30, I think, or something like that. And it saves 30 minutes travel between London and Birmingham, which 30 minutes in an hour, it's a 2-hour journey. It's now an hour and a half, and it's cost 30 billion. And I was like, well, hold on, we could just put infrastructure and free Wi-Fi for everybody in their house for the same price. Get rid of the copper cables and put fiber optics in and blah, blah,
Because
blah.
that's because that money's being leaked to all kinds of people with shenanigans and
totally. Yeah. And they compulsory purchased all these houses along the way. They've now canned the project because it's so over budget.
Well, it's the same thing then. Yeah.
And the people are having to buy their houses back, and in some cases they can't. They've been moved on or whatever. But I think, and it's really interesting, this data center piece, I think that what we offer is tapping into a market that already all the GPUs are there, and as GPUs become more and more expensive, the ability for people to buy the GPUs is going to keep going down because they're just too expensive. The people that can buy them will want to have some extra revenue from it, which means that we're the natural default for it. And and gaming people are going to want to play more games, and how do they do it? So I think there's a really interesting time for us, and I think it's just going to be interesting to see who catches on first, really.
Right.
All
right.
But
before we go, I am getting some questions from the chat, so we should probably address some of these questions. I got
okay,
AB,
great.
He attends all these, which is really nice.
Who is it? Sorry.
His name is AB.
Seen him. Yeah.
Okay. He's asking nano deployment on the 31st of July. Yes, it is still the second batch should go out then. The batch to Canada, I think, has already been dispatched, and the ones to India also, I think, went out. So, but yes, we're still expecting to get those out on the 31st. No change there. What's the plan for coming months? Any milestones? I think, as I said, Dev.
By the way,
go ahead.
I took a little bit of a sneaky one. I went into the community chat, and it must be AB put in something there about, I don't really care about, token price going down a little bit, token price going up. It's about the longevity. We're all here for the long term, blah, blah, blah. And I think it must be him because it was the thing. And then it said, underneath it said, what's the next actions and what this stuff. So I went and put a little teaser in going, watch this space for the next 8 weeks, which is where he's got the 8 weeks.
Well, I mean, that's why he's asking what's happening in the next 8 weeks.
And he asked about partnerships and stuff like that. But there's some big cool stuff coming.
I mean, is the way to think about it. For people to know, as we move into the conference seasons, game dev, and then into September when we head off to Discord, we're trying to space out all these announcements to kind of build up momentum and get our hype going. So we could blur it all out. Well, some of it still hasn't been signed yet, so we got to sign them first. But even the ones that are signed, we're still not. We don't announce it the day we sign it. Generally, we sign it and then we say, okay, this is a good message to get out on this Friday as we're going to Dev Brighton, or on this Friday because we're going to Gamescom. Like we're going to try to get those things spaced out, which is why he says wait 8 weeks, because by 8 weeks time that whole cycle should be played out. So the plans, milestones for the coming months, right? The next week's big thing, that's a big one. Attending Gamescom is the other big one, and then that trip to San Francisco for the Discord meeting. And it's not just meeting Discord, right? Discord is setting up for us, asking us who from Silicon Valley do we want to meet with, who's going to help our project expand, who's going to help support our project. So we've got that list. I think you put that list together today to get out to the Discord folks to help them schedule meetings. So I think those would be the 3 big milestones on the biz dev side. On the tech side, well, getting those nanos out and getting them operational, expanding the network. We've already done optimizations that have greatly reduced the load time. And I say greatly. I think the load time went from 10 seconds on average to 4 seconds on average. So it wasn't like it was very long before anyways, but now it's even shorter by more than half, which is great. And then there are optimizations also that take our low latency and make it lower latency. I don't know how else you would say that, but they're better compressions that we're using. So there are already tech things, but I would want maybe I'll try to see if I can get Dirk or Rowan to sit next week and we go over some of the tech milestones we've accomplished for July. That's probably a good idea. End of July, kind of a summary of what happened on the tech side in the month of July. So thanks, AB, for the prodding. I'll see if I can't get that arranged. And then the nodes as a service. When can I delegate my Genesis node? I think that is still planned for Q3, but I would want to check with Dirk and Ron before I commit to that. So it is, I think, a Q3 item. Woo! Any other questions? Please drop them in there. But I think we're getting ready to call it an evening. I've got to jump on with Ron. We're doing some more testing. I'm going to see if I can get my thing to fully fire off in this new version. But anything, Andy, that I didn't cover that you think I should cover?
No. The only thing I was going to say is in September, obviously in San Fran, we will also be getting meetings lined up by John and the VC team. So we'll be meeting more venture people in San Fran. There's probably a couple of other bits around that piece, but we can talk about next week, or you can talk about next week. But yeah, everything's moving in the right direction. I mean, it feels like between now and Christmas, I would say it's going to be substantial development time, ready for January.
Ramps up. When after we get out of August, everything just starts to get crazy, right? As people get, although Europeans come back from their August vacation, and then everyone's
except the British. By the way, the British don't do your August vacations.
Oh, they don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
I read somewhere though, saying that I read somewhere that August, there's an average that it's a 50% people are in the public sector in the UK during August.
Just 50.
So 50%, 50. So half the people are off.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's from what I understand, you guys are having a heat wave anyways. So
yeah, I think here it's. I mean, you could probably see how much how hot I am. But yeah, it's 30 degrees now, and it is 7 p.m. So yeah, it's hot, to say the least. And that's in the shade, by the way. So
right.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Well, very good. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it. Again, if you haven't run the rig check, I'll say it one more time. Go to app.yom.net/rig check and check out your computer system at home. See if you can run a Nano and what your potential earnings could be per month. Depending on how you put in your stats and what GPU you're running, you could be doing very well. And then again, pay attention. Next week's going to be a big week. I think Wednesday night I'm going to get Glory to kind of spill the beans because it's all supposed to happen by then, or very soon after that town hall. And then I'll see about getting the tech guys on board for a town hall next week, so we can talk about the tech milestones we completed in July and what's going to go on in August. That'll be a good show to have. In the meantime, be good yourself. Drink lots of water. Tell someone close to you that you love them. Right. Go out and touch grass at night. Take a look at the stars. See where you exist in the universe. Don't let it all only be about crypto. Don't let it only be about gaming. Make it about your relationships as well. Anything you want to add to that list?
No, you've covered everything there. That's good. Very holistic and very nice little tick. Let's go.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep. Very good. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.